Growing up, our house was like a fortress of strict rules and sharp expectations. I'm Emily, by the way. My dad, Richard, co-owned a big tech company and believed in running our family like a corporate boardroom. My mom, Helen, stayed at home, her life revolving around maintaining the perfect household and making sure me and my sister, Anna, stayed on track, her version of track. Anna, 3 years my senior, was the star child. She aced everything without even trying. Or so it seemed to me, always stumbling in her shadow. Our parents, especially Dad, made it clear they had high hopes for us. Hopes that pretty much mapped out our entire lives, top grades, elite college, prestigious careers. This particular evening was like any replay of a tired old sitcom. Dinner was tense. The clinking of cutlery on fine china always seemed louder when the air was thick with expectation. Dad's eyes darted from Anna to me, like he was mentally tallying points on some parental scoreboard. So, Anna, your economics teacher called today. She's impressed with your latest project. Said it was college-level work, Dad announced, his voice tinged with pride. Anna smiled, the perfect daughter glow up on full display. Thanks, Dad. I really pushed myself with this one. His gaze swung to me. And Emily? How are your grades? Still struggling with calculus, I hear. The food in my mouth turned to sawdust. I nodded, not trusting my voice. Anna's eyes flickered my way, a glimmer of sympathy before she quickly masked it. Math isn't my thing, Dad. You know I'm more into. Math is everyone's thing if they put in the effort, he cut me off. His tone wasn't mean, just matter of fact, as if he was discussing the weather or a stock market trend. Mom chimed in, her voice softer, but no less insistent. Your father's right, Emily. You can't just give up, because something doesn't come easily. Look at Anna. She works hard. Why can't you be more like her? I bristled. I do work hard. Just not at things that matter to you. Dad's eyes narrowed. What does that mean? It means I have other interests. Like art. He scoffed, shaking his head. Art is a hobby, Emily. It won't pay your bills or build a future. You need to be realistic. I pushed my chair back, the leg screeching against the tile floor. Excuse me, I need some air. As I left, Dad's voice followed me. We're only saying this for your own good, Emily. Outside, the cool evening breeze was a small relief from the stifling dining room. Their expectations were like chains, heavy and cold, and no matter how hard I tried, I couldn't seem to break free. Not like Anna, who wore those expectations like a crown, always poised, always perfect. But that night, under the starry sky, I made a silent vow. One day, I'd find a place where I wasn't just Anna's lesser shadow. A place where I could be me, whatever that meant, without apology or comparison. In our house, everything was a competition, especially for my sister Anna and me. My dad had this belief that pitting us against each other was the way to breed success. He'd say stuff like, competition sharpens the mind. But all it did for me was grind my confidence into dust. I mean, imagine screwing up a math problem and then going to school with a rumbling stomach the next day, because of it. That was my reality. Anna always came out on top. Whether it was math, science, or any school subject, she nailed it. Because of that, she was the golden child, the one who wore new clothes and had lunch packed with more than just leftovers. On the other hand, I was the one in faded jeans, trying to get by on scraps. Dad made sure of it. You need to push harder, Emily, he'd say at the dinner table, barely looking up from his plate as he compared our report cards. Look at your sister. She's setting the bar. Meet it or go hungry. The unfairness of it all could choke you. My mom, Helen, always backed him up too. Your father's right, she'd add, in that quiet voice of hers that somehow sliced deeper than any shout. We only want what's best for you. But I had a different idea of what was best for me. My room was my refuge, a small space crammed with paints, brushes, and canvases. I wasn't any good with numbers or business strategies, but give me a brush, and I could make magic. One late afternoon, after another crushing round of comparisons where I came up lacking, I escaped to my room, slamming the door behind me. I needed to drown everything out, the disappointment in Dad's eyes, Mom's sighs, Anna's awkward attempts to make me feel better. Painting was my escape, my secret world. I was mixing some blues and greens, trying to capture the storm inside me on the canvas, when Anna knocked softly. "Emily, can I come in?" I didn't have it in me to send her away, so I just grunted. "Yeah, whatever." She stepped in, hovering by the door. Her eyes roamed over my makeshift studio, lingering on the unfinished canvas. "That looks amazing, Em." "It's just a storm," I muttered, focusing on blending the colors, letting the brush strokes express my frustration. "No, I mean it. You really have something here. Why don't you show them?" I scoffed, a harsh laugh escaping me. "Yeah, right. Look, Dad, forget about my crappy grades and check out this painting I made. That'll really impress him." Anna bit her lip, looking like she wanted to argue, but instead, she shifted the topic. "Just, don't let him stop you, okay? You're good. Really good." The last year of school crushed me under its weight. Anna had sailed into the Faculty of Management at the prestigious university everyone expected us both to attend. Me? I was barely scraping by, my heart not in the endless formulas and business strategies that piled up on my desk. The day the college acceptance letters were due, the atmosphere at home was electric with tension. I already knew what the letter would say, or rather, what it wouldn't. Dragging myself downstairs, I found both my parents in the living room, the dreaded letter lying like a verdict on the coffee table. Mom's face was stormy as she waved the letter at me. "Care to explain this?" I took a deep breath, bracing for the explosion. "I didn't get in." "And you're not even upset?" Mom accused. Her voice was sharp, like she could cut me open and find the answers she wanted. "Do you have any idea how embarrassing this is? Your sister got in with flying colors, and here you are, failing." "I'm not Anna," I shot back, my patience fraying. "That's the problem. You never try hard enough. You're going to end up a stupid beggar." Her words stung, but not as much as they used to. I was too tired, too worn down from fighting a battle I never chose. "I don't want to be a businesswoman," I said quietly, the truth finally spilling out. "I want to be an artist." The room went deadly quiet. Dad, who had been silently brooding by the window, turned sharply. His voice was cold and furious. "You want to what? Throw your life away?" "It's my life," I retorted, feeling a spark of defiance. "Not yours. I've never wanted this. I've never wanted any of this." "You ungrateful child," Dad hissed, his face red with anger. "If you think you can choose such a worthless path, you can get out. Get out and don't come back." His words hung heavy in the air. I looked from him to Mom, who was shaking her head, tears of frustration, or was it disappointment, in her eyes. "Fine," I said, my voice steadier than I felt. "I'll leave. I don't need this. I don't need any of you." As I stormed upstairs, my heart pounded so loudly I could barely hear my parents arguing in the background. I shoved my clothes, my sketchbooks, a few cherished art supplies into a bag. With each item, I felt a chain breaking, a piece of the old, suffocating life falling away. When I walked out the door, suitcase in hand, Dad's final words were a cold goodbye. "You're no daughter of mine anymore." I stepped out into the unknown, the evening air cool and slightly biting against my face. It was scary, and for a moment, I didn't know what to do or where to go. But as I walked down the street, the weight of years of expectations lifted off my shoulders, and I realized I was free. The only place I thought of going was Grandma's. She had always been the soft counter to Dad's strict rules, a quiet rebel who nurtured my love for painting, despite his disapproval. So, with my world turned upside down, I found myself dragging my suitcase up her garden path, the familiar scent of her rose bushes somehow reassuring. Knocking on her door, my heart was thumping wildly, half out of fear, half out of relief. When she opened the door and saw me standing there, her expression shifted from surprise to concern in a heartbeat. "Emily, what in the world?" She didn't finish her sentence, just pulled me into a warm hug that smelled like vanilla and fabric softener. "I left home, Grandma," I managed to say, my voice muffled against her shoulder. Come in," she ushered, leading me into the cozy kitchen where a kettle was already whistling on the stove. Once we were seated at her table, a cup of tea in front of each of us, I told her everything. How Dad had disowned me, how Mom just stood there, how I couldn't bear to live under their roof a moment longer. Grandma listened, her eyes softening with each word I spoke. "You did what you had to do, dear," she said once I'd finished. "And you'll always have a home here with me." Relief washed over me, the tension I'd been carrying dissipating slightly. "Thank you, Grandma. I don't know what I would do without you." She reached across the table, squeezing my hand. "Now, tell me about your plans." "I know you, Emily. You must have a plan." Taking a deep breath, I shared my secret hope with her. I applied to the Institute of Arts. On the internet, quietly. I didn't tell Mom and Dad. Grandma's face broke into a wide smile. "That's wonderful. Following your heart, that's my girl." The conversation shifted to lighter topics for a while, allowing me to breathe easier and feel momentarily carefree. But later that evening, as we were cleaning up after a dinner of her homemade lasagna, my phone buzzed with an email notification. I checked it, not expecting much. "It's from the Institute of Arts," I said, a knot forming in my stomach. Grandma dried her hands quickly and came over to stand beside me. "Well, open it, dear," she urged, her voice tinged with excitement. With a shaky hand, I tapped on the screen and read the contents of the email, my eyes widening with each word. "I got in, Grandma. I got in, and they're offering me a scholarship. Full tuition covered." "Oh, Emily!" Grandma exclaimed, her eyes brimming with tears as she pulled me into another hug. "I knew it. I always knew you had something special. This is just the beginning for you." We spent the rest of the evening talking about the future, about art and dreams, and making a new life. It felt like for the first time in a long time, I was exactly where I was supposed to be. Grandma's faith in me bolstered my own, and I felt ready to take on this new challenge. A few days later, Grandma accompanied me to the Institute to finalize my registration. Walking through the halls filled with vibrant art and buzzing with creative energy, I felt a sense of belonging that had eluded me for years. "You're going to do great things, my dear," Grandma whispered as we left the administration office, my enrollment confirmed. Living on campus was a world away from everything I'd known. For the first time, I was not just studying what I loved, I was immersed in it. The transition wasn't easy, though. Drawing had been something I sneaked around doing back home because my parents had made it clear they didn't see a future in it for me. But here, at the Institute of Arts, it was my life. My first year was tough. The freedom to create was exhilarating, but also daunting. I struggled initially, battling the ingrained fear of my parents' disapproval and the pressure to prove I could make it on my own. Yet, with every sketch and painting, I grew more confident. By the end of the year, not only had I found my footing, but I had also emerged as one of the top students in my class. Professors praised my unique style, and I started to believe maybe I did have something special. As my skills developed, so did recognition. The school offered a few of us, the so-called emerging talents, a chance to showcase our work at a personal exhibition. I jumped at the opportunity. Preparing for the exhibition was intense. Every piece had to say something, to stand out. I poured my heart into each painting, hoping they were good enough to be noticed. The night of the exhibition was surreal. The gallery was buzzing with people, music softly playing in the background, lights casting a perfect glow on the paintings. I stood nervously by my work, watching as people walked by, stopping to look, to discuss. My grandmother, who had come to see the exhibition, stood beside me, her eyes wet with pride. "You've done well, Emily," she whispered, squeezing my hand. "I'm so proud of you." That night, something incredible happened. A local TV crew, who had come to cover the exhibition, featured my work. Suddenly, I wasn't just a student, I was an artist being talked about. The segment aired, and the next thing I knew, I was being invited to talk about my art on various shows. My paintings started circulating on the internet, gaining popularity. It was all so fast, so big. I felt like I was dreaming. The real pinch-me moment came when an animation studio contacted me. They wanted to use my designs for a series. Next thing, those sketches and characters I created in the solitude of my studio were moving, living on screens. They even started a comic book series based on them. And yeah, they paid me, which felt weird but incredible. I remember sitting in my dorm, watching the first episode of the animated series, thinking about how far I'd come. From hiding my sketches from my parents, to seeing my creations come to life on TV, it was mind-blowing. I was in my studio on campus, streaks of paint on my hands, and a blank canvas waiting, when my phone rang. It was Anna. I hesitated for a moment, not sure what to expect. We hadn't talked much since I left home. "Emily? It's Anna," she said, her voice uncertain. "I saw you on TV last night. You were amazing." "Thanks," I replied, taken aback by her call and her compliment. "I appreciate it, Anna. How's school going for you?" "It's fine," she said, though her tone suggested otherwise. "Actually, that's partly why I called. I've been thinking a lot about what I'm doing. I'm not sure I'm as cut out for the business world as Dad thinks. Watching you follow your passion made me wonder if I'm just going along with what's expected of me, not what I want." This was new. Anna, the perfect student, doubting her path? It's never too late to change your course, you know. "If you're not happy, maybe it's time to think about what you really want," I said, more as a friend than as her estranged sister. "Yeah, right," she laughed softly. "Maybe I need a bit of your courage. We can share some of mine. I've got plenty to go around now," I joked, easing the tension. A few weeks later, Anna came to visit me. She toured my studio and my latest works, her interest genuine. It was strange but comforting to have her in my space, seeing the part of my life that had caused so much distance between us. "You really are talented, Emily," Anna said as she looked around at the paintings, the sketches, and the splashes of color everywhere. "It's my world," I told her, feeling a surge of pride. "Wanna try?" She hesitated, then smiled. "Why not?" Handing her a brush felt symbolic, like I was welcoming her into my life in a way we hadn't shared since we were kids. As Anna and I laughed over her crooked paint strokes, I realized that this recognition was all I had really wanted from the start. As our laughter died down, Anna's expression turned serious. "You know, when Mom and Dad found out about your TV spot and the shows, they were furious. Dad said you're defaming the family name with your doodles. They really don't get it, Em." The word stung, but I wasn't surprised. "Let them think what they want," I said, shrugging. "I'm not living for them anymore, Anna. I'm living for me. And for the art." "Yeah," Anna nodded, looking around at all the colors and shapes that filled my world now. "You've built something beautiful here, Em. Don't ever let them tell you otherwise." Hearing that from Anna, knowing that she saw the value in what I was doing despite our parents' disapproval, meant everything. It solidified my resolve to keep going, no matter what they said or did. I was an artist, and that was something no one could take away from me. It had been 6 months of peace and creativity when it all came crashing down during one of my exhibitions. I was showcasing some of my latest work, which had drawn a decent crowd, buzzing with chatter and admiration. That's when my parents stormed in, their faces thunderous. My father, his face red with anger, scanned the room until his eyes landed on me. Without hesitation, he marched over, my mother trailing behind him, her eyes darting nervously around the room. The moment he reached me, he erupted. "This is what you left your family for? These ridiculous paintings?" He gestured wildly at my art hanging on the walls. "You're shaming us, Emily. You think this is a real job? Artists are just drug addicts pretending to be profound. I was stunned, words failing me as his voice echoed off the gallery walls. Before I could gather my thoughts, he lunged at one of my paintings, his hands clawing at the canvas. I gasped, stepping forward, but the gallery organizer was quicker. He called security immediately. "Sir, you need to leave. Now," the organizer demanded, as two guards quickly intervened, pulling my father away from the damaged artwork. The aftermath was a blur of apologies from me to the guests and the gallery owner, assurances that this was an isolated incident. But the damage was done. The evening was ruined, and so was my mood. Over the next few days, my phone was bombarded with texts from both of my parents. Each message was a dagger, full of accusations and predictions of doom. "You'll come crawling back once you realize the real world isn't kind to dreamers," one read. "You think you're successful? This is just a phase," said another. I tried to ignore them, but each beep of my phone brought a fresh wave of anxiety. It wasn't until I received an email notification about the animated series based on my artwork that I found a sliver of vindication. The series had just crossed another 1,000,000 views, and the comments were overwhelmingly positive, praising the creativity and unique style. Fueled by a mix of anger and pride, I copied the link to the YouTube page and sent it to my parents with a simple message: "See for yourself." After that, the messages stopped. Their silence was louder than all their criticisms combined. Maybe, just maybe, they had watched the videos and read the comments. Perhaps they finally understood that my art was something real and valued by others, even if they couldn't see it themselves. 2 years had flown by when my sister Anna called me with news that shook our family to its core. Dad had lost his business due to a betrayal by a foreign partner, and they were financially ruined. They had to sell the house and move into a small apartment. What's more, Anna decided to leave the prestigious university she never truly loved and was planning to transfer to another college to study landscape design, something she was genuinely passionate about. During the holiday season, I visited Grandma's house, where Anna was now staying. She was beaming with genuine happiness, a stark contrast to the stressed sister I remembered. "I've got a scholarship, Emily," she told me as soon as I walked in. "I'm finally studying what I want, and I'll be living here with Grandma." "That's amazing, Anna. I'm so proud of you," I replied, embracing her tightly. Grandma joined in, hugging us both. "You girls are so talented," she said, her eyes twinkling with pride and love. Over the next 3 years, my career as an artist flourished. My paintings were featured in top galleries across the country, and I managed to carve out a name for myself in the competitive art world. My work sold for substantial amounts, allowing me to live comfortably and continue pursuing my passion. However, the past has a way of catching up. One day, as I was setting up a new series of paintings in my studio, my parents walked in. The sight of them was startling. Dad looked frail and worn, a shadow of his former self, and Mom was dressed far more modestly than I had ever seen. "Emily, we need to talk," Dad began, his voice weak but urgent. I nodded, leading them to a small sitting area in the corner of my studio. "What's going on?" I asked, although the tight knot in my stomach already had an inkling. "We're in a bad place, Emily," Mom started, her voice trembling. "We've lost everything, and we need your help." Dad coughed slightly before adding, "You've done well for yourself, which we knew you would, despite what we said. We were hoping you could lend us some money. Help us get back on our feet." The request hung heavily in the air, thick with irony and desperation. I took a deep breath, the memories of their dismissal and harsh words echoing in my mind. "You both disowned me when I chose this path. You said I would fail and wished me nothing but the worst," I reminded them softly, yet firmly. "Yes, but we're still your family," Dad insisted, looking at me with eyes that were pleading yet prideful. "I'd built this life on my own, without any help from you after you turned your backs on me. You made it clear then that you didn't want anything to do with me or my career," I continued, my voice steady despite the turmoil inside. Mom looked down, tears starting to form in her eyes, while Dad simply stared, his expression unreadable. "I'm sorry, but I won't be giving you any money," I concluded, the finality in my voice mirroring the closure I felt in my heart. They stood, the air thick with tension and unspoken words. "We hope you reconsider, Emily," Mom said softly as they turned to leave. Watching them walk away, I felt a mixture of relief and sorrow. It was a difficult decision, but necessary to protect the life and boundaries I had fought so hard to establish.